Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating, almost hidden link. I'm talking about the profound biological connection between the food we put on our plates and the way our brains function on a cellular level. We so often think of our minds and our diets as these totally separate things, right? But the science of nutritional psychiatry is proving that our mental health is, quite literally, built from our diet. Okay, let's dive into this. To put things into perspective, more than 50%, over half the American population, fails to meet the formal estimated average requirements for dietary intake of at least one micronutrient. It's crazy. It's a massive misconception that people in the developed world are perfectly nourished. The reality? We're totally surrounded by calories, but we're actually starved of real nutrients. So here's a quick roadmap for this explainer, so you know exactly where we're going. We'll start with the hidden nutritional crisis, then move into defining essential brain nutrients. After that, we'll look at the single supplement failure, the broad spectrum paradigm, the metabolic tune-up, and finally, a brand new treatment frontier. Let's jump right into Section 1, the hidden nutritional crisis. And this brilliantly illustrates why our seemingly abundant food supply is failing to support our brain health. The biochemical data reveals a pretty stark reality. Subtle deficiencies are just incredibly common. For instance, look at vitamin B6 sitting at an over 10% deficiency rate, followed really closely by iron in women and vitamin D. Now sure, severe diseases like scurvy are rare today, thank goodness, but these subclinical insufficiencies, they're absolutely everywhere, and they quietly, almost invisibly, compromise our physiological and mental functioning every single day. So what's causing this? Well, it's kind of a perfect storm. Modern agriculture has sharply reduced the actual nutrient density of our fruits and vegetables. We're talking reductions of up to 80% over the last few decades. This is mostly due to insufficient soil replenishment, plus the heavy use of herbicides like glyphosate. Glyphosate actually binds to micronutrients right in the soil, which reduces their bioavailability for us. You combine that with our heavy reliance on ultra-processed foods and high-fructose corn syrup, plus the everyday metabolic demands of high stress, physical activity, and just aging in general, and our bodies are basically constantly running on empty. Add in genetics and culturally diverse cooking methods, and it's really no wonder we're depleted. Moving on to Section 2, defining essential brain nutrients. Let's zoom in a bit, right down to this cellular level, to see what these missing pieces actually do inside our bodies. To do that, we have to clear up the fundamental difference between macronutrients and micronutrients. Macros, that's your carbs, proteins, and fats, they provide the bulk energy to keep us going. But micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals, those are essential elements required in tiny trace amounts. And crucially, except for a few exceptions like getting vitamin D from sunlight, our bodies can't just make them internally. We absolutely must get them from our diet to support all those subtle cellular, vascular, and metabolic functions. And up in the brain, these trace elements do the heavy lifting. They are the literal building blocks required to synthesize neurotransmitters. For example, specific amino acids and minerals are absolutely crucial to fuel your dopamine production. They maintain intracellular signaling, they support mitochondrial function, and they regulate membrane stability. Basically, without these trace elements, the engine of the brain simply cannot spark. It just won't run. Which brings us to Section 3, the single supplement failure. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the question it raises. If we're missing these nutrients, shouldn't we just pop a single vitamin pill and call it a day? Well, the clinical outcomes for complex states like major depressive disorder are generally pretty weak or inconclusive when we isolate single nutrients like chromium, vitamin D, or magnesium. In fact, adjusting just one nutrient can actually throw off the delicate balance of other vital minerals. Nutrients don't act as soloists, They perform as a massive, complex symphony. Taking just vitamin D for a complex mood disorder is literally like handing one guy a kazoo and expecting him to play a Beethoven masterpiece. It just doesn't work that way. So let's look at Section 4, the broad spectrum paradigm. When we actually move to that symphony approach, the science gets truly exciting. If you visually contrast the disappointing results of single micronutrient treatments against broad-spectrum approaches, the difference is night and day. Single nutrients often yield weak or negative results and can disrupt your mineral balance. But a broad-spectrum approach? It utilizes 23 to 25 carefully balanced nutrients simultaneously. This doesn't just patch up one single deficiency, it yields statistically significant changes in mood, ADHD symptoms, and even aggression. And that's because it pervasively supports the entire central nervous system all at once. And the objective, peer-reviewed clinical efficacy data here is phenomenal. In rigorous, randomized controlled trials involving incarcerated youth, administering a broad spectrum of micronutrients resulted in a massive 26 to 47% drop in disciplinary violations and aggressive behaviors. Think about that. And in another study, this one involving high-stress post-disaster earthquake survivors, the prevalence of probable PTSD dropped from 65% all the way down to 19% in just 1 month of treatment. These are incredibly powerful behavioral and emotional improvements in real-world high-stress environments. And this isn't just some new, trendy fad either. 2-time Nobel laureate Linus Pauling predicted this exact thing all the way back in 1968. He stated that significant improvement in the mental health of many persons might be achieved by the provision of the optimal molecular concentrations of substances normally present in the human body. So the quest for this optimum balance has some really deep, highly respected roots in scientific history. All right, section 5, the metabolic tune-up. So the crucial point is, how exactly does this optimum balance work inside of us? The leading biological theory is a concept developed by the acclaimed biochemist Bruce Ames. He called it the metabolic tune-up. Ames theorized that by supplying a broad variety of micronutrients, you pervasively optimize your physiological functioning. Think of your brain as a highly complex, high-performance engine. If it's missing just a few trace elements, it stutters, it misfires. But providing a highly specific, broad blend of fuel prevents mitochondrial decay and comprehensively upregulates the central nervous system. It basically makes the engine run perfectly. And tuning your metabolism like this provides holistic brain benefits that apply to healthy individuals too. Researchers actually call this enhanced normalcy. People experience enhanced cognition, clear-headedness, and drastically increased stress tolerance. Amazingly, it even has profound anti-aging properties. One cross-sectional study found that daily users of multi-nutrient products actually have 5% longer telomeres. Those are the protective caps on the ends of our DNA, and a slowed age-related decline in executive functioning. I mean, that is an absolute biological surprise. Now, on to our final section, Section 6, a new treatment frontier. Let's move to and see how this builds into real-world clinical practice today. Transitioning a patient from standard psychiatric medications to broad-spectrum micronutrients is definitely not as simple as just flipping a switch. Because these nutrients so powerfully tune up the body's metabolism, they can actually potentiate or strengthen the effects of standard drugs. So this requires careful, medically supervised cross-tapering over months. Clinicians have to manage severe drug-nutrient interactions, monitor for heightened drug side effects, and skillfully adjust dosages. It takes real skill and serious medical management. However, the ultimate payoff is extraordinary. Broad-spectrum micronutrients are proving to have the potential to serve as a low-risk, highly effective first-line treatment. For many patients dealing with ADHD, mood disorders, and behavioral issues, this paradigm shift offers a much safer initial approach. It empowers clinicians to try and heal the brain with optimized nutrition first, before automatically turning to conventional pharmacotherapy. This can drastically reduce side effects and help restore true physiological balance from the ground up. Which leaves us with a truly profound final thought. If our minds, our moods, and our neurochemistry are built entirely from the molecules we consume, is the future of psychiatry actually nutritional? It completely changes how you look at what's on your fork, doesn't it? Thanks for exploring the research with me in this explainer. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll see you next time.